we'll go ahead and get started. So Lori is helping out today. Laura's on vacation, and Laura is Lori today. I'd like to welcome everybody. And of course, we have Rachel Foster here. And she's been so instrumental in getting these sessions set up for us, particularly through Alignable. So, welcome everybody. And today we're going to be bringing one of our in house experts who's been showing up in many of the workshops. And Michael McClellan is going to be showing us how to go out and look at financials. So we named this ChatGPT, your new financial sidekick. So it's always nice to have somebody helping us out in whatever we're doing each day. And of course, I think we've mentioned before, we use ChatGPT multiple times per day to help us get through all the different things that we face on a day-to-day basis. If you are new and you need a free version of ChatGPT, here's how you go to get that free version. And it gives you some directions in here. And then there are some directions about if we put a file, and we will be putting files into the chat window in Zoom. And I believe right now the slides are getting put out there. And in a minute, the prompt that Michael has provided us will go out there. So, at any rate, these are the instructions on how to get things saved on your computer. And all the links in here are clickable. So, the reason we decided to do these workshops is that AI is happening. It's happening now, it's happening fast. I follow a podcast or two where they're talking about what's going on. I see newsletters come in telling me about what's going on. And there's a major upgrades and so on going on in AI right now. So I congratulate all of you who are here, who are saying, you know what, I want to see what's happening and get your fingers in it and at least get started so that as things continue to evolve, you'll be right on top of it. So many ways that we can use ChatGPT to get our work done faster, smarter, more enjoyably, and more efficiently. We can help other people on our teams. If you're out here learning things, go ahead and share with your teams. There is no big user guide in the sky that you can use for AI. The best way to learn AI is to go out and use it, play with it, and so on. So share as well with your other team members. And for our clients, either you can help them become proficient in AI, or you can use AI to help them if they're not willing to walk down the AI path yet. So become their hero by either giving them some great answers by what you're doing or by teaching them how to move forward. We're recording this, and it says the recordings will be available in 5 to 7 business days. I've been lagging a little bit, but they're all out there on that one page. And if you need the link, I believe maybe Lori could put the link out in Zoom for the page that you go to. It's right at the beginning of our menu bar. And she can put that on the Zoom link so you know what page to go to watch replays and get prior prompts and so on. We will close the doors about 10 minutes after we've shared those prompts so that we don't have to try to bring somebody up to speed after we've gotten rolling on a particular topic. And of course, just watch what you're putting in as far as anything that's confidential information. And of course, Craig's Landscape, which is what Michael is going to be working with us today, doesn't have confidential information. But if you have, ultimately, if you're working in any client's books, you want to quote unquote anonymize the information, make sure there are no words in the information you share with ChatGPT that would identify the client. And I'm not sure if we're going to have breakout sessions today. We'll decide that when we get to that spot. And if so, if we're in a breakout session, just be aware that when we close the breakout session, there's a blank spot, and you'll feel like you got thrown out of the Zoom meeting, but you weren't. You'll come back in momentarily. So there's a little lag in there. So I got involved in AI over a year ago now, and I got pretty hooked. Initially, I just tried one or two little things, and then one or two more things, and so on. And then I was looking at this and going, you know what? I've been training people how to put their books together for 30 years, how to set up all of their lists and how to use everything most effectively for particularly for job costing. And the thing is that just because somebody has better numbers in front of them doesn't always mean they're going to take effective action. So I thought, you know what? Hopefully AI can help me help them move beyond the numbers and use those numbers to get more profitable. Then I joined the Simple AI Consultants group where there are over 100 AI focused consultants, and we do share AI training and creative applications. And they do have some great training options, both free and paid. And I found out that you can use AI for every single role within every organization. So now, how are you getting involved with AI? Now, Michael's going to share with us how he got and is using AI. Anybody else out there want to volunteer? Maybe how they're using AI? You can just raise your hand.
So, Lisa, please
Okay.
share with us.
Okay.
I'm literally in the middle of it right now. I was trying to play with it before I got on this call. I have this template that was given to me for evaluations for my staff, and it's very blocky and columny. I don't know how else to explain it. It's like these little columns and it just keeps expanding. So I threw it into my Copilot, since that's the form that I'm using, to try to clarify it and get more like take the comments and make them more developmental action plan focused. And so I'm working on that right now. There's some things I like and some things that I don't like about it, but I keep having conversations with it back and forth, like change this to this, or can you format it this way, or why isn't it working this way? So it is talking to me, but I'm also learning through this process that it takes it a while to learn what I'm really trying to get it to do. In that
Yeah,
regard, I need to work on building my prompts, I think. So I'm doing
sure.
that. And then I also had it create me 3 out of office templates based on 3 different scenarios, just so that I had them on hand, just trying to make sure that I utilize it every day in some capacity so that I get comfortable using it in what it is that it can and can't do.
Terrific. And that's the way you learn. I think almost everybody who's used AI will agree with you on that. We have, particularly when we start using it, we have wrinkles and bumps and lumps along the way, but you learn how to speak with it. I'm going to throw out one idea here too, is that you might want to go into the memories. I'm sure that Copilot probably has some memories, and you can say what writing style you like to use. If you say,
Oh,
yes, I like to be helpful and supportive and upbeat in any comments that I make, as an example. If you think
oh, I
about,
didn't know that. I'll have to look. It has a conversation history, but I don't, there's
yeah,
a thing that says explore agents and create agents. And I know we touched on that a couple weeks ago about the
right.
different agents and how they're going to start talking to each other, but I'm not educated enough to know what I'm supposed to do with those.
Okay, well, why
Lisa, what
don't you
you
go
might want to
ask
do
it?
is sorry, Diane, is to go into your settings and explore all the settings that are in there and see what options are there.
Okay.
Yeah,
How
and
about if
see.
you ask Copilot how to change that?
Yeah,
Exactly.
because right now it's telling me only agents that require permissions for external data access appear here for management. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
So ask Copilot what that means.
Ask Copilot what are all the settings that I can
Okay.
touch, and can I establish a writing style? So it's funny. It's in ChatGPT, you have to ask it what it can do. You can say, "Tell me about you."
I would have never even thought to ask that, almost like an interview question, like, how are you going to help me? Because I did find out with our
Exactly.
stuff last week, the analyzing the websites, that Copilot can't do that. It's the wrong AI for it.
Keep in mind that you can get a free ChatGPT, and we
I have
really
one. It just
recommend
doesn't
the,
keep the history. I think that's what I was like, I have
yeah,
to pay for it because these prompts.
$20 a month is not too much,
No,
really,
I think
to
that's
lay out for
certainly
what you get. So
certainly
we,
within my budget for research.
yeah, yeah. Okay, good. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Did we have anybody else with their hand raised, or should we move on? Thanks for sharing, Lisa. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't have anyone else with their hand raised.
Okay,
I guess if you
that's
want to
good.
go.
Let's move on down to the next piece. And in today, of course, we'd like you to download and save this PDF slide deck from the Zoom chat. And this is about where I'm going to turn things over to Michael. I've got it up So why don't you kind of walk us through this and tell us a little bit about this prompt, maybe how you developed it and what people are going to see when they look at this.
I developed it from a few different sources. Somebody else that is heavily involved with ChatGPT and using ChatGPT to help me and how it can be what it needs to focus. And always giving it an introduction and telling it what its job is or what it's supposed to be. Like on here, it's a financial accountant and some more details in that. And then you also want to give it what it's supposed to be doing. This format is called Markdown. So it is in a kind of a programming language for chat that you have the pound signs and the asterisks and the capitalization. And then as we go into this, I'll show you some other things that are in here. But you want to give it as much background information on what it's supposed to do before it does it so that then you don't have to tell it as much at the end or specify what it's supposed to be doing. But it goes through and the objectives, you tell it on this one is financial objectives, and to go in and report discrepancies, mismatched totals, have it do some math and do some double checking, do some metrics. You can go in and read this in detail and then go into cash flow and efficiency and different areas of the financial statement. So you can either include this or exclude it if that's not what you want to look at when you're looking at your own. And then give it an example. It learns by examples. So that's all that is, copied from somebody else that I know, and I went and tweaked it for what we want to do here. And goes down and then give us some recommendations. And then at the bottom here is the important, give it some more information. And then we're not going to use the bottom part for today, but what you can do is give background information on the company. Is it a restaurant? Is it a retail establishment? Does it do e-commerce? Whatever. The more background that you give it will get you better results, and it will know to go back and look at that industry for comparison purposes.
And one of the things we've done in our prompts is actually we put some of that information up front, thinking that ChatGPT could use that as it moves through the process. So that's just a thought too. And I wasn't coordinated enough with Michael to actually display what he was talking about at the same time he was talking about it. But you can go ahead and take a quick look through that prompt. And we're not here to really train you how to build a prompt, but I thought it would be interesting to have Michael talk to us about that prompt and how he put it together. And I see the markdown information. What I'm going to throw in an aside here is that quite often I've seen ChatGPT without my giving it markdown instructions still give me nicely formatted, bolded, laid out processes with bullets and numbered systems and so on. Going ahead with the markdown information as you've got it really dictates that we'll get exactly what we want. But on the other hand, you don't always have to put the markdown information in on some of the other things that you may create. This is a pretty detailed set of instructions for financial analysis.
And Daniel has put a question in there about the hashtags and the asterisk. And yes, that is part of the markdown. I don't know exactly specifically what each of those do, but I know that you can go into chat and say, give me the markdown instructions for this prompt, and it will give it back to you.
Or I did quite a while ago. I thought it would be a nice giveaway, and I don't know where I stashed it, but I asked ChatGPT to give us a list of all the markdown symbols and what they mean. And it was a pretty extensive list. But as ChatGPT gets smarter and we're moving further away from the concept of programming, so prompts are a little bit like programming, but still not programming. Hopefully, in time, it'll just be smart enough to know how to do all that on its own. But good to learn about Markdown. So, what are we going to do next, Michael?
We've got the prompt, but we need to have the balance sheet and the profit and loss PDFs. to the
And
chat, right? And so if you'll download those first and then go into ChatGPT,
are those for Craig's landscaping?
they should be.
I noticed a reference to Piranha in here. Let me see if I can find it. I saw something about Piranha Brothers, but that was just, oh, there it is. So you might want to change this in your,
What's the example? It'll come back with Craig's.
oh, got it. I apologize. I didn't try this one first. I'm counting on Michael.
Okay, do you want me to share my screen?
Sure, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay, let me move this stuff around here. Okay, so what I did first was I hit the plus button here and I uploaded the balance sheet and the profit and loss. And after I did that, I copied from the introduction down to the bottom here of what we're going to include in the prompt today and pasted that in.
So the Control A to select everything, Control C to say I want to copy, and then over in your ChatGPT or your AI, you can do a Control V to paste it all in.
But you don't want to copy the parts that we don't want in there.
Okay.
Where it says prompts begins after this line. So you want to start with the introduction.
Okay.
And the last thing that you want in is the paragraph that says identified and addressed.
Okay. So let's
So
give
if you get the
everybody
rest
a
of it in there,
minute.
just delete it out before you hit enter.
Yeah, let's give everybody a minute to do that.
And one of the things to remember is if you do this on one of your clients or your own books, is if you print it out to Excel, then in Excel, you can go in and delete out all the PII or change it, put in initials instead of the name, and then print it to PDF to upload to chat. And that's what I do for my actual clients.
So you wouldn't put the Excel sheet in?
You could, but I prefer the PDFs because then nothing gets changed.
Got it. Got it. Let's go ahead and you're not, Michael took the screen, so you're not seeing the clock. So I'll run the clock from my side. Here it is. And we'll do 12 minutes and save and start. So everybody can work on this for about 12 minutes on their own, and then we'll come back, and then we can share. We'll come back in and share what we found. Sounds good. From the insights that you provide, start thinking of where you might be able to use this in the future. We've had our 12 minutes of library time. And were there any questions that we need to take a look at? No? I just wanted to let you know, Lisa, and for anybody else who's using Copilot, I did go out and ask Copilot if I could set up a particular writing style. And so if you look in the Zoom chat, you'll see what Copilot told me. So that's a good example of how you can ask an AI what it can and can't do for you. All right, Rachel, are we going to split some people out into breakout rooms? And so the process is that you'll see an invitation come up to join a breakout room, and you'll need to say that it's okay, and then it will start putting you into the breakout rooms.
Breakout rooms have opened. Okay.
And Janice, to finish the answer on the second one, it said I saved 15 minutes. And then on the last one that I did, it said save 20 minutes.
It sounds like you guys had a good conversation. And we're down to 10 minutes left. I don't know what happened to all the time, but it got away from us a little bit. I appreciate, though, that Michael, that you explained what was in that prompt. So if people aren't used to prompts, they might have been a little confused. Taking that extra time, I think, was good. Can I have a volunteer from each breakout room, please? And just take 1 minute and talk about what you found out. How was Craig's landscaping doing? Did they have any problems?
I'll take the hand for Scott and Shy. The three of us were in a breakout room together. Scott had some challenges with his ChatGPT, so he was unable to run the chat. So we took a look at mine, and Shy and I both pressed ChatGPT at the end of the run to produce some graphics for us. I asked ChatGPT to produce a table that summarized income, cost of goods, and expenses. And it also not only generated that by month for this year, but it also created a color graph for us that showed what was happening, which I thought was really cool because I hadn't asked it to do that. Total time savings, it showed me, was about 2.5 hours. So I was pretty impressed with that as well. And Shy asked it to help her create a PowerPoint and some graphics that she could use and wording she could use in a PowerPoint presentation to present the financial information to someone else.
Nice.
That's what we
Thank
did.
you. And the next group was Rachel. Who was in the next group?
We talked about, I was in this group with Michael and Daniel, and we were talking about different products that integrate with ChatGPT to do maybe some more customized things with photos and that. So then we started talking about the actual financial statements, and I asked about what it didn't. Initially, it didn't talk about the opening equity balances that were on the balance sheet. And so I asked it, what about the opening equity balances? And then it gave me an overview of what month by month and the concerns with OBEs and the fix for that. I did just now ask, where's my question? What the recommendations were for steps and recommendations. And of course, it says you got to step by step find out what is going into opening equity balances and get that corrected. That this should be a negative, this should be a zero count. It was good.
So you used your own expertise in conjunction with ChatGPT, and that's always something that we say is always check the results, use what you know, go ahead and ask the extra questions as you find it appropriate, because it's not perfect.
You need to, on this stuff, when you start introducing financial reports, you need to know how to read a balance sheet, and you can't, it's, I don't know what to ask. I don't know the question to ask if you don't know that. It was a good exercise. It was a very good exercise.
Good. And we have another group to report in. Was Daniel in a different group?
Yeah, I think it was Leslie, Lisa, and our guest. Can one of you give us a recap on what was going on with your group?
So I was with Leslie and guest two, I didn't get her name. We just went over the prompting and what was inside the prompting, understanding the hashtags versus the asterisks and the things that we were asking. Both Leslie and guest two both have run this on ChatGPT. Leslie's on the free version and guest two is on the paid version. But guest two shared some insight that I'm curious about, but I know I'm not there yet. She was talking that using ChatGPT as you're getting better at it to not ask simple questions, ask those more complicated things, and then have it start breaking down stuff. But she's able to use the history to create projects from her findings when she is working on her firm and her financials. And I found that interesting. Leslie said that when she ran her financials through these prompts, she found some areas that she can internalize and work through as well. So I thought that was a good practice. I went down the road of the recommendation section. So once it did the analytics, I went through the recommendations. And one of the things it said is equity restoration. And I'm like, what's that? What's that? So I went down the what's that category until I could understand what it was that it was trying to tell me to restore, how to go about doing it, and then developing an action plan and how long it would take to get those goals based on different scenarios. So it was very quick. It said it would have taken me about 4 hours to do all of this manually, and it gave me answers in 5 minutes, but it's little digestible pieces for my small businesses that's understandable. And that was the goal that I was trying to get to using these prompts.
Nice. Sounds like you had a good experience
I
with it.
did.
So Great. And so thank you everybody for your insights. I want to get to the AI tips. And Lori and I brainstormed on this last night. One of the big tips is just keep asking questions. Or you can say, am I forgetting anything? Do you have any suggestions for me? Can you suggest products to help me solve a particular problem? Can you create a comparison chart between these particular products that I'm looking at? Lori said, I think she compared up to 5 one time. Can you explain the pros and cons of these medications? I did that recently. Can you reorganize or recreate my prompt to be easier for you, ChatGPT, to use again in the future? How much time do you estimate that you saved me for this prompt? We've talked about that before. And can you provide a summary of this chat so I can share it with team members? Sometimes we go through a chat and there's kind of layer after layer of it, but if at the end, if you want to go out and say, give me a summary of what we just did, it will summarize it. It'll give you some bullet points and say, tell me what the challenge was and what you told me to do. So what was the solution? So these are just some of the kinds of questions, and there are many more. You can kind of start setting up your own list if you want to, and just learn to interact with it. So just like we asked Copilot, how can I do this? Or can I? Looking ahead on Friday, this coming Friday, we're going to look at a book called Upstream, The Quest to Solve Problems Before They Happen. Life is always easier if we can do that. So we'll be looking at that on Friday. Now, because we got July 4th coming up, we're going to just the following week, instead of July 4th, we're backing it up a week, and we'll do another book, AI, here on spin selling, situation, problem, implication, and need payoff. I went ahead and listened to this, and it sounded like a really nice way to be able to interact with potential clients and help in the sales process. How do we understand the client and go through the sales process? And then on Tuesday, 2 weeks from today, the prompt policy workshop. And this one, we're going to draft an internal policy. So be thinking about policies that you could potentially put together for your company, maybe a PTO policy, or there's a lot of different things that you can come up with, policies, especially in the HR arena, but there could be other policies that you could put together for here's how we onboard clients and that type of thing. Question again, going back to that 12-week plan that we worked on a while back, have you gone ahead and done it, refined your plan? And then go ahead and try this before our next workshop. Analyze a real set of financials. Go out and get some real numbers and see what happens when you run them through. So that's what's coming up. We're about 3 minutes over, but I think we're all good. So thank you everybody for attending, and we'll see you on Friday and Tuesday.
Thank you
Take
all so
care.
much.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye now.